Guys, welcome back. I've got Coach Michael Bann on with me. We just got off of a live. I was playing the part of Big Dogs. He was playing the part of the person doing all the work. So I'm good to go on this one because I just want to ask him some questions. Um, when we talk to our coaches, we often ask them what the questions they are being asked are. So Michael mentioned that he has a lot of clients right now that are in Ramadan and they're celebrating Ramadan. And so he wanted to talk to, well, really everybody about what some of the generalized things are that anybody can do to have a more successful from a fitness and health standpoint Ramadan. So Michael, will you do me a favor? Just paint the picture of when does Ramadan go from? What does the holiday look like? What are people dealing with in terms of health and fitness during it?
Yeah. So to be clear, Ramadan hasn't started yet. So hopefully this is preemptively giving people that information because it starts next Friday. So Ramadan, pretty much every year, beginning-ish of May, end of April. And it goes for a month. And it's a Muslim holiday. And so essentially for the entire day while the sun is up, they do not drink or eat. So life slows down. Obviously, people aren't even today, like with the quarantine, but generally speaking, life does slow down. People aren't, rushing out to work and eating all day, etc. So they fast all day. Around 7 p.m., they begin to eat, and they call that iftar. So that's like breaking of the fast. And I apologize if I butcher any of these terms. I'm not the best at pronouncing things in Arabic, so I apologize. But essentially, iftar is where they break the fast and then they begin to eat. And there's a lot of the times a celebratory aspect of it where like they get with a lot of loved ones, and just the vibe that I've heard from all of my clients in the Middle East, from um, Abu Dhabi, Dubai, Cairo, Riyadh, Jeddah, all over the world there. Um, it's a little somber, if that's the right word, because now they can't like go and spend time with their families, et cetera, because they're all kind of locked down. So I've had a lot of questions, and I've had a lot of coaches reaching out to me about like, hey, how do you handle Ramadan? Because I've been helping clients for the last 6-7 years with nutrition and training to maintain performance and body composition during this time of the month. And it can be a little scary for some coaches that don't have a lot of exposure to it. And it's also, for clients that are, this is their first Ramadan doing fitness, it's also confusing because it's not the same as, wake up, have breakfast at 8, go to the gym at noon, have lunch at 3, and then dinner at, 8 or 9. Cause that's really what it's like in the Middle East. Timelines are shifted a little bit. So I've had a lot of clients reach out, and so I just kind of figured we'd lay out some basic principles for this stuff. Obviously, everybody's a very unique human. There are unique outliers to everything. I had a client today. It's the first Ramadan I've had with this client, and normally clients eat more than once after iftar. So they eat iftar and then they go and have another meal later. And he usually, he's like, hey, for my entire life, for 30 years, I've only had one meal and I've never been hungry. And so I usually just do 1,000-ish calories at iftar and then that's it. So that's an outlier. I was like, wow, that's interesting. Like I've never actually had a client that didn't get hungry and only ate about 1,000 calories. And it's also his first Ramadan like training with me. So things may change because his caloric deficit is different, his energy expenditure is different, so many things, right? But just saying that out loud because I want people to recognize that there are outliers, and really people should have an individualized approach to this stuff because everybody's physiology is so very different, and everybody's movement is so different, and goals are so different. So just wanted to kind of make this to help people understand the concepts, and with concepts they can draw principles and kind of create their strategy around Ramadan. And then if they're still struggling, I'd love to help them myself. Obviously I've lectured out there. I was out in Cairo lecturing a few years ago and whatnot. So the hope is to get out there to Riyadh and Jeddah this fall. So I have a very special place in my heart for these clients. I absolutely love them to death. And the more I can help them, the better, especially because it seems like there's just not a lot of info out there on how to do this. And I've been collecting data on it and just observing patterns and stuff like that for years. So hopefully some of my knowledge and observations can help some people.
What are the broad principles that you need to overcome? And let's maybe put it into a couple different buckets, right? Let's put it into the bucket of somebody who just wants to be healthy. Let's put it into the bucket of somebody who wants to perform, whether that performance is weight loss, body fat loss, or strength gain or fitness gain. So what are you overcoming inside of the body, if that makes sense?
Yeah. So imagine you're a CrossFitter and you're, trying to get to sanctionals, or you're trying to qualify for sanctionals, I should say. It's pretty tough to maintain your typical training volume throughout Ramadan because you're just compressing your feeding window. Generally, midnight, 1 a.m. is around bedtime for folks that are, partaking in this. And so your circadian biology is off. Like biologically speaking, we're really not supposed to stay up till 1 a.m. And then you're also generally going to be hypocaloric. I can remember years ago, I was working with one of my clients, Ali, and he needed upwards of 4,000 calories a day to like thrive. You're not getting 4,000 calories of food in a 4-hour window. It's just not going to happen. And so this is one of the reasons why intermittent fasting can help people lose weight. You just can't eat enough. And so it's a great strategy. But if you're trying to perform, it's rough. So the number one thing I like to just really clear with my clients that are there for performance, like CrossFit performance, is you're probably not going to be making a ton of performance gains for the next 30 days. We need to be okay with that. We need to recognize that you're going to have one session a day, not two. If you are going to do two, you may be able to get away with it, but in my experience, it will catch up. So I convert things to one and I just call it a deload. We train hard for 11 months out of the year. Like we're constantly going at it. So let's just use this as a deload to super compensate, feel better. We have evidence now, and dare I say detox, and I know that a lot of nutritionists out there are going to like yell at me for that word, but we do have human trial evidence that shows going into lipolysis through fasting does have detoxification benefits. And when you live in a very polluted, like air pollution, like type of environment, anybody that's ever been to the Middle East can tell you pollution is there, especially in Cairo. This is a great opportunity to say, hey, let's get our physiologies better, because we have to remember physiology is the base of fitness and then movement. It's not movement, then physiology. So by getting the physiology better, by helping with some of this fasting stuff, we can actually super compensate and get better at performing.
Okay, so are you saying that generally speaking, you are going for staying healthy as compared to some high level of performance during this month? Is that
Yeah.
okay?
Yeah. Generally speaking, I'm going to say, hey, this next 30 days, we are going to focus on making sure we have the baseline of health and fitness, and anything we may have like knocked down a little bit through months of 4 hours of training per day. We're going to go ahead and repair a little bit. This is a great chance to repair some of the damages done from CrossFit. Performance is not a healthy endeavor. Just like trying out for special forces is not for your health. So when we recognize that, we can say, okay, but there are times we really should work on our health. This next 4 weeks, we're going to dial that in. So if you're going to train for health versus performance, the timing really does make a difference. So if you're training to lose some body fat, be healthy, simplistic training, meaning you're not doing a lot of CrossFit style mixed stuff, then really you can train before iftar. And I've had a lot of success with clients doing, back squats, weighted pull-ups, and row repeats right before iftar. And then iftar, I usually tell them, hey, let's grab some dates and let's grab like some whey protein. Go ahead and take that. And maybe even like a little bit of greens. I'm a huge fan of Designs for Health's Paleo Reds or Paleo Greens. Super clean product, doesn't taste terrible like a lot of greens do. And it's a great way to kind of like get some extra veggie content in. It's not going to replace a salad, but it's going to be better than nothing. And I'll usually have them take that and then wait 45-ish minutes, and then they can start their big meals. That's for the client that's looking to kind of, lose some weight, lean out, or just maintain some strength. And they're not trying to be an athlete. Versus an athlete, I'll usually actually have them break the fast. So iftar, first and then train. So the big difference there is just you either train before iftar if you're not trying to be a high level athlete, or if you are a high level athlete or that's what you're aspiring to be, then yeah, you should really train after iftar. And the way I would do that is I would actually give you like a cup of coffee, I'd give you some dates, and I would have you drink a good, like, 20-ish, 25 ounces of water, or just under a liter of water. And then I'd give you 20, 30 minutes to let it all just kind of settle and then get after it. And then big meal post workout. The thing is, because we're going to take a bolus dose of calories, it's hard to digest. So it's super important that people eat slow. And I can tell you that every time I've been in the Middle East, I eat slow and I chew, and people are like, is the food okay? Like, are you okay? Like, you're eating slow. Because a lot of the times the culture is to eat fast. And I remember a server came over and was like, do you want a new meal? You're eating really slow. Do you not like it? And I was like, no, I love this meal. That's why I'm going slow. I'm enjoying it. So it's counterintuitive for them sometimes. So I try to encourage my clients, hey, just put your fork down per bite, chew your food. But even then, it's hard. So digestive enzymes, there's a lot of different products out there that do that, but they can quite help. And historically, when I've had clients have digestive enzyme versus not during Ramadan, they will report back that their bowel movements are better, their energy the next day is better. We forget that digestion is one of the most energy expensive processes in the body. And if we are crushing all of our energy just to break down some food, we're going to lose mental acuity elsewhere. And so giving some digestive support is a massive help. So Digestzymes from Designs for Health. You can do Digestive Enzymes Ultra with HCl from Pure Encapsulations. Vital Nutrients has their own. There's a million of them out there, but just getting some form of digestive support. And even something as simple as just a tablespoon apple cider vinegar in a glass of water 10 minutes before a meal, just to let the brain know digestion is starting to secrete some of those enzymes from the pancreas. So that's another hack, biohack, if you want to call it, to help.
Okay, so sounds like performance is get some calories in prior to training. Not performing, but somebody who doesn't have specific fitness goals, you hit the workout and then you hit iftar, and then do you ever see issues training later? So for the fitness person, how does that play out for folks?
Yeah, it can mess up their sleep even more. I've tried that actually. I remember, what was it, 4 years ago? I tried that with some guys, and it really bit us in the butt. It was like 4 or 5 years ago. Anyway, so what I did is I was like, hey, you know what? Like, I feel like this volume of training, we're going to need some serious calories in our system. So what we really need to do is have iftar, big meal, and then wait an hour and a half and go work out. So 8:30 or 9, they're starting their workout. Imagine trying to do something high intensity 2, 3 hours before bedtime. It's really tough to fall asleep because you just ramped up cortisol levels, you ramped up all those hormones, and now your body's just like, let's go, man. We just got into a fight with the bear. I'm staying up, because your body doesn't understand exercise. It understands physical exertion. So physical exertion historically was to get food, hunt, or to run, or like sex. And so if you're gonna, essentially hunt or run from a bear right before bedtime, your brain's going to be looking for that bear as you get back to your cave to go to sleep. And it crushed us. 100% of my clients that tried that years ago, it made us worse. And I had to go back and repair stuff. Like, I even looked at labs like months later, and I was like, oh man, I really screwed the pooch on this one. So I made a big mistake. But that's part of coaching, and that's just, part of the process of learning. So I implore people, don't do that. Like, recognize that it's just not going to be perfect, and that's okay. Use this time to really focus on other things. And also, when you get back into normal training, you should feel better because you'll have more resiliency there. Yeah.
So okay, so walk me through those two different examples. Walk me through first the fitness athlete and what their day just very briefly looks like. So when would you probably have them train? What times? When would you probably have them eat? What times?
Yeah. So generally, the fitness athlete, CrossFit, sanctionals athlete, etc., I'm going to have them break their fast. So iftar. We're going to do a couple dates. We're going to do some branched chain amino acids. And then we're going to drink that with about 20-ish ounces of water. We're going to wait 20 to 30-ish minutes. If they need that cup of coffee, I'm okay with that. From there, they're going to go and train. They're going to do just one a day. And we're probably not doing any lactate work, to be honest. We're going to be doing aerobic work, and we're going to be doing primarily movement patterns that they are more proficient in. So if you're a terrible squatter, probably not giving you thrusters because that's just more intense on your nervous system. But I might give you components of a thruster that will help you get better at them. So when Ramadan is over, we rock. So after that, I'll tell them, hey, we're going to wait 30-ish minutes, let your body cool down. You don't want to go eat a big meal right after you work out because you're in fight or flight. You're not in rest and digest. So 30-ish minutes, cool down, stretch, foam roll, maybe go take a shower. Get your body into a state of just, okay, I'm better now. Once we're there, now it's time to have that big meal. So I don't know, somewhere around 8:45, 9 p.m. might be that big meal. And from there, smaller meals throughout, maybe one more meal. Generally, if you're going to be having like your biggest meal around 8:30-ish p.m., you're probably going to have that big meal. It's going to take 30-ish minutes maybe. And then from there, one more small meal. The principle is you can do 2 or 3 more meals. It doesn't really matter to me. The principle is the closer we get to falling asleep, the smaller the meals need to be. So in other words, and this is true in a lot of folks, even outside of Ramadan, the closest meal to post workout, meaning like if you work out at 1 p.m., oftentimes I'll make their dinner the biggest meal because they finished at 2:30. Their next meal is dinner. I might make dinner their biggest meal and subsequently every meal after that, smaller and smaller. So you have iftar, you train, big meal 8:30, maybe around 10-ish, 10:30-ish, you have another meal, but much smaller. And then maybe you have a quick little protein shake with some greens in there and some flaxseed or something like that if you're a guy. And that's it. Then you go to bed. So you can see it kind of gets a little bit smaller.
Yep. And nothing from the time they wake up because that's still part of the fasting period.
Yeah, when the sun is up. Sometimes I've had clients wake up before sunrise and I'll have them have another meal and
Okay.
then they'll go back to bed. And I've done that with success. For clients that have a high caloric need, like we're talking upwards of 4,000 calories a day because they're 220 pounds and 6% body fat, absolutely. Yeah, wake up at 3 a.m. real quick, go grab a meal. And I actually stole that from back in the day, some collegiate football players that needed to gain mass. They would wake up in the middle of the night, peanut butter, whey protein, and like maltodextrin, shake it up, drink it, go back to bed. And so it does help. Is it the healthiest thing? Probably not. But again, what is our goal? Our goal isn't to live to be 90 and fit. Our goal is to be CrossFitters.
Mm-hmm.
So we do what we got to do.
Okay.
If
Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, if your goal is health, I would tell you, don't wake up, just sleep, get more sleep.
Yep. And so the timing for the health client, can you walk me through the timing of their, yeah.
Yeah. So the health client, generally speaking, the client that just wants to lose weight, look good, feel good, maybe even get out of pain, things like that. They just want to work out because they have a son and they want to be a good father or a mother and blah, blah, blah. That person, generally, I want them to work out, but they're not doing a lot of intensity. So it's okay if they're fasted. And not that fasting training burns more fat. The last study I read on humans said that like they burned 3 grams more fat in comparison to the non-fasted, which comes out to 27 more calories. So it's really not a big deal. So I'm not worried about like getting you to burn more fat. But what I do like is that if we're trying to make you lose weight and we have some potential glucose tolerance issues or whatever, we work out, then iftar, we can use some non-insulin mediated glucose pathways to help. And so I've had good success with those folks by just having them do their weightlifting, like back squat, pull up, row, and then iftar. But generally with them, I'll actually have them do their real meal, not just dates and some amino acids. So it's like, hey, let's actually give you a legitimate meal, sit down with the family, eat, enjoy. I talked to a client this morning actually about that. And our game plan very specifically is to wake up, live your day, do what you do, about hour before iftar, work out, then iftar, and actually eat that big meal with the family. And then from there, I need them to essentially, titrate their meals down shorter and shorter. And also, they need to be drinking their water throughout the night. Ideally, though, I want them to not drink 60 minutes before bedtime because I want to try and prevent them from waking up to pee. And so I try to limit the health person's water and food intake 60 minutes before sleep. Now, generally, they're going to be going to bed at around midnight to 1 in my experience. And again, this is a very generalized statement. So anyone that's watching or listening that doesn't do that, I apologize. I'm just trying to generalize here. But I like to have people not ingest anything for about an hour prior to bedtime because our small intestine has this motor reflex really where it squeezes stuff out of the small intestine into the large intestine, and it generally does that best when we're sleeping and fasted. So if you eat right before bedtime, you're not fasted, and you're sleeping, so stuff's just kind of sitting in your stomach. And the problem with that is if we do have bacteria in there, which we really shouldn't have a lot, this is how something called SIBO can play. So if you're a health-based client, you need to be very aware of that because SIBO, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, is basically bacteria that's growing in the small intestine by fermenting and eating the food you eat. Now, generally, this motor reflex of squeezing stuff out of the small intestine, the transit time is shorter than the length of fermentation time. So if I have something that's going to potentially ferment, but it gets out of there before the bacteria can really eat all of it up, then I'm not going to have a problem. General description of that. So I like people to try to avoid food within an hour of bedtime. Outside of Ramadan, my general rule of thumb is actually 3 to 4 hours, or essentially don't eat when the sun is down. But obviously, we can only eat when the sun is down,
Mm-hmm.
so we do our best.
Gotcha. Michael, that was great, man. I think it will help a lot of folks. How can people get in touch with you if they have some more unique questions about themselves?
A few different ways, give them options here. They can email me, Michael Bann at thebigdogs.com. That's probably the worst way to do it, but if you do it, I'll probably eventually see it. You can DM me at coach_Michael_Bann for Instagram. Full warning, I have a lot of DMs sometimes. Like there are days where I'll get clients to send me 200 memes because everybody's bored with this quarantine. So I've noticed I've missed some DMs lately, so I apologize. Another way, the best way, is to reach out to Mandy at thebigdogs.com. You can always click the link in my bio on Instagram and set up an appointment with Mandy. It's like 15 minutes. It's free. It just gets you on Mandy's calendar so she can coordinate to get me to talk to you. That's pretty much the best way to do it.
Perfect. Michael, thanks for coming on, man. I really appreciate it as always. And everybody who's paying attention, see you next time. Thanks.
Cheers.